Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, bald-headed mosquitoes and bow-legged ants. I stand here before you and sit here beside you to tell you this is another fun-filled episode of The Other Side of Ropes. And by now, you know who I am, I know who you are, at least some of you. But for those of you who are uninitiated to the ways of TSOTR, this is Red. Some of you know me as Shaka, and I get in the ring. Enough said. Now, I find it interesting. Last week, WWE had their last pay-per-view, Capital Punishment. People were doing a whole him and hawn and, oohs and ahs and everything that all that transpired. Now, I find it interesting that this week, yesterday to be more specific, this time is more mainstream. We're talking the BET Wars. But this isn't what I'm talking about here. That's not what I'm here to talk about. This is a wrestling column. I just wanted to make the parallels of what's going on here between the two. Now, we've already ascertained that, well, the WWE is no longer, I repeat, no longer professional wrestling, as admitted by the man himself back in 2002. I'm talking about the man in question being Vince McMahon. Now, let's do the rundown. Okay. Mainstream. Alright. Joachim Hellboy Hansen from MMA fame, for those of you who don't know who he is, made a very interesting thing. Now, most people who follow MMA, they might know who they are. They might know who I'm talking about. The rest of them might not. Because they'll sit around and they'll ask, well, why isn't this guy in the UFC? And this is why. He made that reference because he didn't want to go to the UFC. Like I said before, UFC might be the big boy on the block for mixed martial arts, but it's not mixed martial arts. In fact, it's not even the oldest organization. Shuto was. I think I made that reference about a week ago, but last week, 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter, you get the point. Because the oldest organization is 22 years old. UFC's only been around in 1993. It only makes it 18 years old. There's your difference. Now, what he said was, and it made a lot of sense, this corollary, he said basically, and he couldn't have said it better, he said, and I quote, "Only a dead fish goes with the current." Just something to think about, more food for thought, okay? Now, if anybody's still kind of a little stumped as to what he was talking about, well, he also mentioned before that during the interview when they asked him about the UFC was this. It was a matter of why he didn't want to go. What's the point? And why did he say, what's the point? Things go mainstream normally basically means it's not worth watching anymore. And well, why did I mention BET? Everybody's thinking, oh, it's black entertainment television, right? Come on now, you know better. Anybody that was following any of the math and caught the memo about 5 years ago, they were bought out by Viacom. And of course, Viacom isn't run by black people. It's run by, dare I say it, is there an elephant in the room? Yes, there is. White people. Come on. It's just, when you see stuff like that, from what I'm hearing about on the boards and on Facebook, it's a dead giveaway. It's another form of exploitation. Come on now, wake up, people. Y'all watch this stuff because you have all these expectations that something big is going to change. It's not going to change, and I'll tell you why. Okay, I said this a couple of years ago, and it's ringing true now. We are now in the age of super boredom, hype, and mediocrity. And it's a healthy mix of all three. But we're still waiting for something big to come along. Okay? Now, you got a bunch of people, they want to aspire. I love hearing stuff like this. I want to be in the main events for WrestleMania. Oh, really? Okay, well, you think you're the only guy. You think you're the last. You think everybody else stopped dreaming about going to the WWE just because you thought of it? Stand in line. You know why? Because there's a couple other thousand people in front of you. Now, to break this down a little bit further in that little bit, let me explain something to you. That roster is about 50 man strong. Okay, you watch all the pay-per-views, you can do the head count, knock yourself out. For anybody that might follow still the PWI 500, Lord only knows why they still do this, because it really makes no sense. Because usually your top 150, if not your top half, well, the top 100 is going to have the guys in the WWE. Everybody else is either TNA, Mexico, or Japan. Everybody else is all indie, period. Okay, I said it. Now, you know what you're going to have to do if you actually go in there? You got 50 guys on a roster. Now, you might be one of about 20 guys in your area that's in an independent. But you know how many other people that's running independent outside of your area? Take your number and multiply that. It's about a couple thousand of us out there, Jack. And we're just talking in the States alone. It's at least about 100 or 200 over in Europe. And I see about half of them when I go to Germany. Just think about it. Think a little bit bigger. Stop thinking locally here for a minute. I'm giving you the facts. It's why it always pays to go out and travel. It makes all the sense in the world. Now, this is the thing you're going to have to consider. People think I'm BSing. You can go to a seminar for this, and this is what they were trying to recruit you for. Okay, everything that you learn on the independents, forget it. All right. When they did the first season of Tough Enough, I believe Ivory said this to a guy, and I think I said this already, but I'm going to say it again just for the sake of argument. Guy trained in Killer Kowalski School. He's following the examples of Triple H in China. Okay, this is around late 2000. All right, and she told him, and I quote, "You're going to have to unlearn everything that you learn and learn how to do it our way." All right, meaning if you were doing pile drivers and all that, none of that in the E. No. And think about when's the last time you saw a DDT. You're not going to. They phased all that out. Okay. They don't want you to learn how to wrestle. Wrestling has been marginalized. All right, I said it. You got all these tell-alls. You got all these guys, the WWE approved autobiographies and all that, and they're telling you, it's like, look, you can't do it anymore. You can't do it anymore. It's just enough to pass for wrestling. This is what you're going to have to do. All right, if you go into a tryout, all right, get your butt in the gym, look fit, and you got to get your cardio. I hate that word, cardio. But yeah, you got to get your wind up, man. You got to put gas in the tank. Gas in the tank. Gas in the tank. You need it. All right, for all of y'all that's still sitting on the couch and munching on your potato chips and all that, no more of that. Now, I'm a strength and conditioning coach from Mixed Martial Arts, and I'll tell you, anything that comes in the label, don't eat it. In other words, you're going to have to spend a little bit more time in the grocery section going to the produce and the butchers. Okay, as fresh as possible. The only thing you should be cooking should be the meat. Okay, if you got to get something out of a can, let it be pumpkins. Why? It's a little easier for you to dig out a whole fresh pumpkin if you're going to make shakes. I'm serious. Okay, shakes, powders, meal replacements, only as a last resort, but I wouldn't do it. You know why? It's a bit of a ripoff. For those now, I was just reading a blog that Starbuck from Finland put out. Buckorama's name of the blog for anybody who's interested. And he and his girlfriend are personal trainers. He's been doing this for over 2 decades, so Buck knows what he's talking about, and I totally agree with what he's saying. He was talking about the whole nutritional thing. All the fad diets and all that is BS. It's easy to get sucked into. I should know. I was a teenage gym rat. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't get any supplements. I don't do it anymore. There's no point. Because, I mean, for all the money I could have set up there and put out for supplements, goes right back in the groceries. So that's what I stick to. Now, going back to what I was saying. The nutrition's a thing. Yes, diet is a weapon. Your diet can be a weapon. A very good one. Okay? You got to get in there. Don't just get in shape. You need to be conditioned. Those guys that you see on TV, guess what? They're not in shape. Like, no, they're not conditioned. They just look in shape. When you got a schedule when you're on the road 360 days of the year, you can only afford to have time to have muscles that just look good. It just passes for athletic. Now, if you watch an actual wrestling event, in other words, either amateur, you watch amateur, Olympic, Scholastic even, okay, they're not big and buff. You don't need that. Muscle is not that much of an option. Big muscles is not an obligation in professional wrestling or wrestling itself. Okay, it passes for it. They're telling that, you know what, they're telling you to do the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Basically, they're not using technique. They're not. I mean, just saying. Now, the other thing is, if you can afford it, and most people can't, find you a good steroid dealer. Because trust me, like I said, you don't get to look like that without having some kind of a price. But see, the price tag for that is if you actually do end up making it. All that being on the road 360 days out the year with no health care and all that takes its toll on everybody. Just something to think about. But this is what you want. Of course, this may fall on deaf ears. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I mean, we're all adults here. You make your own decisions. You do what you want to do. Like I said before, I never had designs on going mainstream, and I still don't. My biggest thing is bringing real wrestling back into the ring. Okay? People can get on me about that if they want to, but so be it. It is what it is. You got your opinion. I'm giving you facts. There it is. Now, the flip side of that, I can stretch this out, but for some odd reason, I try to upload this to YouTube, and it only goes for a certain length of time. So I'm going to either have to A, do like I did last couple weeks and stretch it out to a part 1 and 2, or I'll just save the next subject matter for exactly what that is, the next subject matter. It's still on my chest. Trust me, it'll be stuck in the subconscious of my mind. So, you know, more than likely, that's exactly what I probably will do. But before I get out of here, I want to give a special shout out to another one of my fellow ring warriors, this time a sister-in-arms, who's about to go into a retirement match. Cindy, the definition of technician Rogers. Okay? Haven't seen Cindy in a while, but I've been in a couple of locker rooms with her. Very good talent. Okay? Very good talent. It's a shame she didn't get a chance to stay in as long as she could, but for whatever reason, you know, that's going to be a presence that's going to be seriously and sorely missed around the indies on the East Coast especially. You know, very good talent, very good commodity, very good to be in the ring, and she can go toe-to-toe with any guy any given day. This is the truth. I've seen her work. I know what she can do, and she is all that. It's a shame she didn't get to go over Pro Wrestling Eve or go over to Japan with Roxy and Mia Yim, but you know, sometimes it happens, you know what I mean? But like I said, that's going to be a talent that'll sorely be missed. And in the light of all the losses we've had in a few weeks or so, I guess, well, you know, a retirement is better than the ultimate retirement for now. So, lesser of two evils, you take the bitter with the sweet. Now, on that note, I'm going to split out of here. I got mail to check as soon as my internet connection goes back up because it's too darn hot in here and it plays hell on my router. But in the meantime, for all my German peeps over in WrestlingJunkies.de, over in Wrestling Fever, for Bird, for Marcus, for the rest of y'all, greats. For all my crew over in Belgium, Inderdaad, and for the rest of y'all, I'm out. Peace.